On your left.
Hello, my Airmore brothers, back again. And this is not quite a rant, it's just a conversation. It was maybe about a week ago. I was on, can't remember whose live stream I was actually on. I think it might have been Art's Weekly Coliseum, Art of Itmore's Weekly Coliseum, where she talked about this particular situation. And I talked about two figures, one in the Manosphere that everybody knows, which is Obsidian, and another figure, young lady, brand new on the scene, StephCo, that had the Pretty Privilege video, kind of blew up. But I was commenting that they're two genders of the same coin, and both of them actually want a mate that exceeds their station, for lack of a better term. Not necessarily money, but we all got what God gave us, is what it is, and we all got time and chance, as the Bible says. We have to work with the material, the talents that God gives us, and we have to work within those boundaries. Everybody does. And I noted how similar StephCo and Obsidian actually are. But since they're two different sexes, I do hate genders, but two different genders, they handle the same situation differently. They want the same thing, but they handle it differently. And what they like doesn't always want them back. And one accepts it and one doesn't. And the cut I got from Obsidian took a couple of minutes. And he got right to the point, got right into it, and said exactly what it is. And he's been consistent throughout the 6 years or so that I've been listening to him. I think it's even more than that, because I actually remember Obsidian on his blog is basically saying the same thing. So I'm going to play the 2 or 3 minutes of Obsidian explaining his situation versus StephCo. Now, StephCo, it was Storytime, and I had to cut this little small piece out of like almost 30 minutes of StephCo talking about this particular story. So, I'm going to put the link in the description. I'll put both links in the description because I want to support Dr. Johnson's Black Male Institute. Okay? And it's just out of homage and fairness and also etiquette. I'm going to put StephCo's video because, like I said, I cut it down to 5 minutes. It was actually more than that, but I managed to cut it down to a 5-minute essence about what I wanted to relate. And to be fair, go over and patronize her page and look at the whole 26 minutes. She's quite entertaining. She tells a good story and you won't be bored. One thing I say about StephCo, she's never boring. Like her, hate her, disagree with her, she's never boring. She tells a good story. She's quite entertaining. So without further ado, I'm going to play Obsidian.
But my understanding is you had already converted to Islam at one point, but you are making good money, and you're in a. I mean, if we look at Islam, especially in Philadelphia, I mean, Islam in Philly is huge. I would imagine taking a wife would have been easy for a man who's, secure, income stable, all of that. But by the time you had this injury, by the time you run into, the men's rights, issues, I'm understanding you're not married. What fed into that? Where were you in your life as far as that, and why?
Yeah, this continues to be, so there's a lot of women out there that try to make the case that if you don't have a man by a certain age, everybody's asking you what's going on with that. My response would be, you ain't saying nothing but a word, sis. I get this question all the time from people. How come you never married or whatever? The answer is very simple. The women I wanted didn't want me, and the women that wanted me, I didn't want. I like beauty. I like glam. And if I can't have that, I don't want anything. The plain Jane with a heart of gold may be just the right fit, but not the right fit for me. I didn't want a glorified roommate, that I'm not sexually attracted to, that I don't feel any passion for. That's not the kind of life I wanted to live, even if she's a good person. The four homely sisters weren't evil. It was just homely. I freely admit I'm a very superficial guy.
Okay, you see what he said. He simply put it, the reason he didn't get married and the reason that he remains unmarried as a bachelor is because the women that he wanted didn't want him, and the women that wanted him he didn't want. So he was caught in the middle. So he'd rather sit the game out. And he said it plainly, unapologetically. It is what it is. I've made my decision and I'm good with that, which is what a man does. And he doesn't hold any animosity against either woman, the ones that don't want him or the women that he didn't want. He didn't say they were bad people. He just said that's his preference. And he admits that he's superficial. And he's willing to suffer the consequences of his own decisions. Now, next we're going to play StephCo, okay?
The man who took me down cross maps. And so I get in and me and him look at each other, and it is something like straight out of a romantic comedy. We look at each other, we're like, ugh, not you again. And so we start fighting in the car, just like play fighting and being kind of flirty. And my other friend who was with me was like, I'm gonna move so you guys can talk, because she was sitting in the middle of us. And so I was leaning over and shouting at him. We were fighting. We were flirting. And so I switched places with her. And me and this guy were talking, and I was like making him laugh, and we were joking around. And I noticed that he's attractive. I hadn't really paid attention to that. I hadn't really, I'd been so disappointed and attacked by his shirt that I hadn't paid attention to the fact that I was attracted to him. And I have a very wide palette, okay? I have dated men from all races, unapologetically so. I don't think Black women should ever have to apologize for keeping an open mind, especially when we do face increased challenges when it comes to women of other races, when it comes to being in relationships that are healthy and that lead to everything. But this man was Black, and my friend always makes fun of me because she's like, your palette is so broad. But I have a specific type of man that I'm attracted to with Black men, very, very dark skinned, the pretty teeth, the beard, that's that's what I like. And so he was those things. And I also noticed he got up to get out of the car, and I noticed he was like 6'7". Well, actually, I thought he was like 6'2". After 6 feet, I have no concept of height. But he told me he was 6'7", and it made sense because talking to him, I'm 5'3". I felt like I was in a back bend. I honestly did. And so I looked up at him, and we're talking, and the good vibes keep coming, man. We keep laughing, we're joking. And eventually, I'm not in my horny 30s anymore. I'm good now. I've calmed down. But occasionally, I call her my inner Samantha. She does pop out. And he was attractive, and the laughing was there, and I'd been out for a long time, and I'd had some libations. And so the inner Samantha came out a little bit. And there was some light physical interaction, and we were very clear with each other that, hey, we'd like to see each other again. So then he asked me, well, what are you even looking for? What do you want? And I said, I just want a normal dating experience at this point in time. And I'm 100% on that. I'm that, honestly, those lofty dreams and ambitions that I used to have as a young woman, I've had so many redirections and been forced to be seated and be benched so many times that I just want a normal dating situation. And so that's what I'm talking about. Just like a situation where I go out and it meets expectation or exceeds expectations. And after, fighting in the Civil War that was dating in LA for 3 or 4 years, I honestly, I just want that. Like, let's focus on that. Don't ask me about marriage. Don't ask me about nothing else. Let's just get through a decent date. So I was trying to explain that to him, but not with all those words. Obviously, you don't want to overwhelm somebody. And then he gets a phone call, and he jumps up and he runs out of the restaurant. And I'm so happy the waitress was here to see this, because I think if I had explained what happened later, it would have been like, oh, You don't have to lie, girl. But she was there. She saw him jump up, all 6, 7 of him, and run out of the restaurant. So I look over and I keep checking back, and I check back for like 3 or 4 minutes, and he is talking on the phone. I can see him. Then I look back at one point and he's gone. And I am like, okay. And I'm thinking, well, maybe he just went out to his car, you know, where he could talk more. Maybe he just walked. So I get up at this point, and I go to the bathroom, and I come back and sit down. And I sit down for maybe about 5 or 7 minutes longer. And I finally call a friend, and I'm like, girl, I think he left the restaurant. I think he left. And she is like, what? And I had called her before I headed down there. I was like, man, you know, I'm looking at all these really cool spots because Houston has a lot of great places to eat and hang out. And this dude has asked me to drive all the way across town to go to a Papacitos in a random strip. And I've agreed because I'm just so anxious about actually having a date that I've agreed to this. So my bad, but I'm now out here and I'm alone. I believe I'm alone, and I don't think he's coming back. She was like, no, maybe no. So then I get a text from him, and it says, hey, my daughter broke her leg. I'm going to the hospital. And that's all the text said. And so I had to pay for what we'd had, and get up and walk out of the restaurant alone.
Now, admittedly, this is a very clipped down version of her story. And it's clipped down to the point of what I believe is the essence of what I wanted to speak on. Doesn't mean that this is what she meant or this is to be the final word of what she says. So don't take my version. To be fair, go over and listen to the whole 26, 27 minutes of what she has to say and her explanations. But I think this 5 minutes will give you the essence of what it is, right? She was attracted to the guy. The guy was what she wanted. The guy looked like what she wanted. Right around her age. He's tall, he's dark. She's attracted to him. She's made out with him. She's sexually aroused by him. And this led her down the path. Actually, listening to her whole story, you realize that she was jump off to him. And that evidently that's not what she wanted. In fact, it says what she wanted. She wanted a normal dating experience. She wanted him to treat her like a girlfriend. Okay, she wanted the boyfriend experience from him. And he wanted to jump off. Now, I don't think he should have dined and dashed on her. If he wanted to jump off, he should have negotiated that. She was attracted to him. She might have done it. And the way he treated her, I would say that's caddish. That's not manlike. Okay, we don't like women to manipulate us and get a meal out of us, and then we dash out of the door. And I'm sure that if she had not got a chain restaurant, it'd have been more money. And like I said, she wound up sitting there embarrassed and paying the bill. And she's gone on to say this has happened before. Like I said, I didn't include it because I didn't want this video to be way too long, because I would have played like a 30-minute video and then given commentary. And I don't think that this is worth the commentary. If there's enough interest, I might do a reaction video to what she's saying. That might be fair to do that, but I don't think I want to do that, because really it's really not about her. It's really not about criticizing her and the way she was treated, because I don't think anybody should have been treated the way she was treated. That's unfair. You don't like the girl, or you don't like the way the girl looks, or you want the girl for something else, hey, be honest. Don't play the woman, which she did. It's not that she's a sucker. She was hungry for a date, and he was red meat for it, and he threw it out there. And she talks about the way he was dressed. He's a pookie. He took advantage of her, and I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, especially if you're past your 20s. I don't agree with that. Show up, be honest. If that's not what you want, that's not what your stilo. It's not right to make up dash out after not pay the bill and then make up a freaking story. But that being out of the way, you see the way that a black man and a black woman handle things. Black men admit their limitations. They accept their limitations. They don't expect to get a cookie. They don't expect to get a participation prize. They don't expect to get what they want just because they were like Obsidian says, she has a heart of gold. And I think StephCo may have a heart of gold. Doesn't make her a bad person. But the thing is, at the end of the day, we sometimes we don't get what we deserve, what we think we deserve. We get what we qualify for. And that's what I've always said about StephCo. She wants things that she doesn't qualify for. Just like Obsidian. Obsidian wants things that he probably doesn't qualify for, whatever that is, whatever the qualifications is for it. The thing is, he realizes, they both realize it. It's not that they don't realize it, but how they handle it. Obsidian realizes that this is the way the world is. This is what I bring to the table. These are the gifts that I was given. I utilize them to the best of my ability, and that's it. And then if I don't want to use them to whatever ability, whatever outcomes that they'll afford, then I don't want them. And that's what he said. Stefco is still trying to make her heart of gold go beyond her abilities. She thinks she's owed something because she's a good person. In other words, I want what I think I deserve, not what I qualify for. And that is the difference between, especially generations, like men, it's different, but also millennial women and the way they've been taught about how their inner person is more important than their outer person. Because I hear it all the time. Even though that's not true, because guess what? She didn't pick an ugly dude. She picked a dude that she was attracted to. So all the other dudes that would have been sort of like an Obsidian, I'm not sure how they would have gotten together. Let's say there was Obsidian in the same spot. Obsidian would have hit on her and she would have overlooked him. They probably would have overlooked each other, which is probably nullified it. But she would overlook the person like Obsidian. So she would overlook Obsidian. He wouldn't have been upset. He would just say, okay, fair is fair. That's the way the world works. If he overlooks her, she's thinking that that's not fair. World shouldn't work that way. I should get what I want because I worked hard enough for it. Two sides of the same coin. Okay. Heads, so to speak, we accept the world as it is. Tails, pun intended, they don't. Not that I'm not going to get what I want and I'm not willing to settle, because they both said the same thing. I'm not willing to settle for what I can get. So the male side says I'm willing to die alone or whatever comes with that. And the female says I'm going to keep trying it until the last because I don't believe it. And I'm going to get upset when I don't get it. So I'm constantly putting myself into situations that I probably shouldn't be in. Dude's good looking. He's chocolate. He's handsome. He's 6'7". Absolutely positively out of her league. And what she qualified for, she probably would have been much happier had she went on and done what she was qualified for. He was obviously willing to engage with her, have sex with her, and maybe even qualify for her for being friends with benefits. Not what she wanted. She wanted a boyfriend. And she wanted a good-looking boyfriend. She didn't qualify for his girlfriend, obviously. So she wound up putting herself in a position that she shouldn't have been in. And she wound up hurt. See it in her face. And I feel for her because he shouldn't have treated her that way. He should have been open and honest about what his intentions were for her. So he wouldn't have had to make up that story after the dinner was almost over and then bounce. And then text her with this obvious lie about his daughter breaking her leg. But I've been trying to do this one for about a week and a half since I saw her story and I saw Obsidian's comment. And I had mentioned them even before their two videos popped up on my radar, that they're very similar. Now, I could be off. This is my opinion. You could disagree. I'm sure there's going to be people that are, going to go in on Obsidian or even agree with them. And I'm sure there's people that are actually going to come in and white knight for Stefco. All is fair. This is my story. This is the way of my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. So anyway, y'all, that's all I got for this one. Tell me what you think in the comment section. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.